But the first thing we need to talk about is what actually is the purpose of pain. And what that is it's actually a protective mechanism. In fact, it's one of the better protective mechanisms, or one of the systems in our body, and how we do and how that works. Specifically, though, it helps us create a sense of changing behavior, right? So I'm going to use an example of putting our hand on a hot stove. A message gets sent up to our spinal cord, to our brain, which the brain, of course, takes that message, says, how dangerous is this really? And it says a lot, and therefore makes us feel pain in our hand. But really, the purpose behind it is it's our brain protecting us, saying, hey, remove your hand from the hot stove, otherwise you might damage yourself. You might burn your hand. So again, it's actually quite purposeful and can protect us in a really good way when working properly. A couple other ways that our body can protect itself is also by creating unpleasant sensations, specifically, again, around pain, making our muscles more tight, so some muscle tension, muscle weakness as well, the immune system as well, so creating swelling or potentially some redness or color change, and hormonal changes like our stress response, which we'll get into a little bit later. And again, some of you maybe have experienced all of this or a combination of these kind of mechanisms, but again, we'll focus on pain for today. Now, as far as the pain system goes, and when we talk about the nervous system, we're going to use this concept of as pain is like an alarm system or an alarm bell. What we know about alarm systems is it can warn us, right, when there's actual damage or when there is something potentially dangerous happening. Now, alarm systems, though, or alarm bells, can also warn us when we're approaching danger or when there is not yet any damage, but we're approaching that. So I'll give you an example. If we were to use the example of, say, a smoke alarm in a building, if that smoke alarm goes off, the first thing we're going to do is pay attention to it and probably try to get out of the building because there could be something dangerously wrong, right? And firefighters come, they check everything out, and maybe there was a fire, so maybe there was a purpose to it. But sometimes those alarm systems can go off for no reason, or as a false alarm, if you will. So again, to go back to the pain system, it simply is a warning system. It's not a damage detecting one. So again, pain is not always an accurate indication of what's happening in the tissues, and you can have pain but actually not have any damage. And vice versa, you can have damage but no pain. So as far as how our body actually detects a danger, well, what we know through research is that there's special nerve cells in our bodies. We call these nociceptors. And the processing of this is called nociception. And what we know is these nociceptors can get activated by different things, such as touch, pressure, temperature, such as hot or cold, and then sometimes inflammation as well. And so what happens is these receptors will get activated, and they send a warning message. And eventually, if that warning message is important enough, it gets sent to the spinal cord. And again, if still important enough, or if important enough, then it will go to the brain. And then the brain will ask this question every single time of how dangerous is this really? Now these nociceptors usually are what we call high threshold. So they usually take a lot to activate. So they're not something that activates usually quite quickly. But what we know is with chronic persistent pain is that over time, these receptors can actually become sensitized and overreactive or overprotective of the body. So as far as how does that actually work? Well, so sending warning messages. So again, nerves act as a relay system. So if I can, again, use an example like dominoes, right? In order for the dominoes to fully topple over, they have to hit each other. They have to have enough energy or enough action potential for them to actually fall over. Well, similarly, with chronic pain, messages in the nerves that go from nerve to nerve have to have enough energy or have to be important enough for it to carry on. And that includes getting to our spinal cord and eventually up to our brain. But a really key concept that we want to talk about today and bring to your attention is that pain is not pain until our brain says so. So what we know is through research, again, is that there is no such thing as pain signals, but rather warning messages or warning signals. And ultimately, it's the brain that comes up with, again, that question of how dangerous is this really, and do I need to do something about it? The good news is, though, is that we can actually change the messaging of the nerve and the messaging in the spinal cord and in the brain to the point where we can actually change, to a degree, a person's experience of pain. And again, so there's many different inputs and factors that are associated with that. So again, like I've said a couple times, the brain is always asking this question of how dangerous is this really? Well, to answer that question, it has to take into consideration quite a few different inputs, or it might take into consideration many different inputs in that moment. So the sensations or the messages coming from the tissues, say the different structures in the body, can be one thing, but that's only one piece of the puzzle. Our thoughts, what we think or how we think about our pain, how we talk about our pain, and all the emotions that are associated with it. Maybe fear, worry, anxiety, anger, hopelessness, helplessness, or on the positive side, right? Joy, finding joy in life again and purpose. Our experiences and memories also can impact our experience of pain. Previous experiences can impact how our body processes and how our brain processes pain in the future. The environments we're in and the people we're around can also be a factor associated with the experience of pain. As well as the immune system, the hormonal system, and last but certainly not least is the fight or flight or the stress response system, which, to be honest, in research has shown a very close connection to the pain system. And again, they really can feed off each other in both a positive and a negative way.